Let's go.
Yeah, let's do
Eric,
it.
I'm excited. It's the WrestleMania of UFC this Saturday, July 6th, UFC 239.
Damn, it's like shaking right now. You're like basically your laptop is like shaking.
Am I shaking? That's good.
Yeah.
That's good effect. I like that.
Much excitement going on, man.
That's good effect.
Like the Ultimate Warrior, shaking the ropes.
Oh yeah, no. I'm super excited about this card. We were just talking about it. I'm excited about every single fight on the main event portion of this card. That's what this card was supposed to be. That's what it's meant to be. And now it is. We have 5 high-profile fights on this main event card, including Jon Jones and Amanda Nunes, along with Ben Askren, all on this card. It's star-studded. I am so excited. I just can't stress how excited I am, to be honest. We were just talking about this off camera and might as well start the podcast with it because it's the most recent fight that has happened. Francis Ngannou defeated Junior Dos Santos pretty easily.
Yeah.
We were wondering, he's going to get the title shot. Francis Ngannou has earned it. There's no way he doesn't get a title shot. But who does he face if Daniel Cormier decides to retire? That's a big question because we could only really decide on what? Curtis Blades, possibly, maybe Jon Jones, but Jon Jones has to get past this fight, to be honest, to be fighting for the heavyweight championship. So it's very rocky. And Francis Ngannou looks like right now, besides Stipe or Daniel Cormier, we'll see what happens in that fight. Francis Ngannou looks like the scariest and best heavyweight in the UFC.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's one of those guys that you have to watch out. He beat Dos Santos easily. I thought that was one of the most easiest fights that he's ever had.
He's had a lot of them too.
Yeah, next to Cain Velasquez. But I really, yes, he does deserve that title shot. He does deserve it. That's the question. Who's he was going to face? I think all signs are pointing to Curtis Blades. A lot of people think that's going to be the fight. Daniel Cormier. Whether he wins or loses, the title is going to be vacated in a way, right? I'm pretty sure it's going to be vacated. So,
well, he'd have to if he retires. If he doesn't retire, then we have DC versus Francis Ngannou, which is an unbelievable fight. Even better, I think, than Stipe versus Daniel Cormier, just because of the fact that Ngannou can knock anybody out.
Oh yeah.
And Daniel Cormier's wrestling, and just the fact that he's one of the best UFC fighters ever. That's a cool fight to watch. It's if he retires and beats Stipe, where do you go? Now, if Stipe wins, you obviously have Stipe versus Francis Ngannou in a rematch that we all want to see, because Ngannou did not show up that first fight. So
yeah, definitely. And it's also something that we leave to the fans. And I think they are the ones who are going to be more the outspoken ones. So we're going to leave it to them, leave it under the comments to see who if Francis Ngannou should face, Curtis Blades. Who knows? We'll see what happens. That's a little bit later. We just have to get past through these next few fights.
Yes.
Of course, this Saturday, UFC 239 on the horizon. We should check that out.
And let's check that out. And we will be watching together. But let's start talking about it. Eric, I think the most underrated fight on this entire card is the first one on the main event card. That's Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa in a welterweight battle. You obviously have Diego Sanchez, who's been around forever. He was on the first Ultimate Fighter, and he faces a wily veteran in Michael Chiesa that got a big win over Carlos Condit at the end of 2018. I'm excited about this fight because I think this is going to be a knockdown, shootout, brawl, and I really don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, it's one of those shaky ones, and I feel like it's unpredictable, really unpredictable if you ask me. Diego Sanchez has been here for a very long time. He hasn't been, lately he hasn't been doing all that good, but the one fight that actually did surprise me was up against Mickey Gall, because I actually thought Mickey Gall was going to rip him apart. But then again, Diego Sanchez, he surprised me, knocked him out, choked him out, and that completely, okay, there's hope for this guy. And for me, he actually won performance. I do believe he actually got performance of the night bonus for that. So if anything, with Chiesa, he's going to have to not take Sanchez lightly. He's going to have to really, really be at the edge on his toes to make sure he actually keeps the fight. He actually, if anything, he has to stay serious on him and actually just stay on him most of the time. Sanchez, I see a choke out. Choke out around maybe third round. I'm gonna have to go with third round choke out. I don't
I
see.
would see Sanchez submitting him as well. I am going to go with Chiesa on this. I think Chiesa comes off that big win against Condit and needs the momentum to move up in the welterweight rankings. And I think Diego Sanchez has won his last 2 fights. He's a wily veteran. Third time's a charm in a way, as far as him losing in this case. And I think, he beat Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall wasn't in shape, didn't take the fight seriously. I think Michael Chiesa is a whole different level than Mickey Gall. I think Chiesa will have enough, but I think it will go the distance. I think it will be by decision, 3 rounds, and I think Michael Chiesa gets this win. But I could see, like you're saying, Diego Sanchez get a second or third round submission after beating down Chiesa as well. So very flip-floppy fight, but I'm going to go with the fighter that's more in his prime and not near the end of his fighting career, and that's Michael Chiesa.
If anything, Chiesa, he's if you think about it, if it's going to go long distance and unanimous decision, I see more strikes being thrown by Chiesa on this one. Sanchez will try to use his wrestling skill, but Chiesa, he'll do, if anything, worst case scenario, in my view, he will win by decision by the number of punches, kicks, and grapples. And I think that Sanchez, he'll come this close on beating him. But for me as a fan, as Diego Sanchez fan, if anything, choke out. I really hope that he can actually choke him out on this one.
It'd be very interesting, and then you would wonder where Diego Sanchez goes after that. I just think that's too high profile of a win for him this late in his career to expect, and that's why I'm going to go with Michael Chiesa. Moving on to the fourth main event on this card, and this is absolutely worthy of being on a main event card, not fourth. You'd think this would potentially be second or third. It bumped down all the way to fourth just because of how high profile the first 3 fights are, or the last 3 fights are, excuse me. And this fight is a light heavyweight bout between Luke Rockhold, making his light heavyweight debut, and John Blachowicz. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I can't say it in Polish accent, even though I know a lot of Polish people. I can't say it in the accent, so hopefully I didn't butcher the name too bad. Blachowicz lost to Thiago Santos, who we're going to talk about a little later in the main event, in his last fight. That fight essentially was to see who was going to fight John Jones. Blachowicz loses. He's not fighting John Jones. He fights a newcomer in Luke Rockhold, who moves from middleweight to light heavyweight. Rockhold, like we were talking about, hasn't fought for an entire year. He hasn't fought since August of 2018.
Wow.
But he does make his light heavyweight debut, and this might be his natural size that he's fighting at. I think this is a very interesting fight because you have a light heavyweight mainstay, a guy that's been at the top of his game, a guy that was 1 fight away from fighting John Jones for the title on this very card, against a guy that's hungry to prove himself in a new division. What a fight we have here.
If anything, Luke, I'm actually going to be favoring Luke Rockhold on this one, using most of his boxing techniques and, of course, his Muay Thai advantage on this one. If anything, Jan, he's going to try to corner Luke Rockhold as much as he can. But if anything, Luke Rockhold, being away for so long, and I know what it feels like just to be away for something that you love, and you just want to get back in the game, and you just want to you want to get back in the octagon. And of course, if anything, Luke Rockhold will bring it to Jan. And if I see anything, I think I see a knockout. Second round. I'm going to have to go second round with Luke Rockhold winning.
I'm agreeing with you. I think Luke Rockhold has something to prove here. He's had some high-profile losses, so he wants to move up in division. We actually just saw this with Thiago Santos, who moved up to light heavyweight and decided to win every single fight, and now has a fight against John Jones. So I'm going to go with Rockhold on this one as well. This is such an even fight. Rockhold, 34 years old. Blachowicz, 36 years old. Both guys were Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys. But I'm going to go with Rockhold. I think he's the more hungry guy. He's coming off a year break. He's healthy. He's ready to go. I'm going to go with Rockhold. And I'm also going to go with a second round knockout as well. I'm going to agree with you on this one, Eric. We're going to agree on this one. I think it'll be a more even first round. Rockhold both guys will kind of measure each other out, and then Rockhold will get the most of them in the second round. This fight could main event most fight nights because it's essentially, and two, looking at this fight between Rockhold and Blachowicz, you could be seeing the next contender to John Jones's light heavyweight championship with the winner of this fight. You know what I'm saying? So this is a big fight. This fight matters. It matters a little bit more than Chiesa and Sanchez, which is just a pretty good fight. This one actually has standing, and I think if Luke Rockhold really puts on a good performance like we're saying, and the result is like we're saying, I think Rockhold could be next in line to face John Jones. And same with Blachowicz, having come off a couple wins and then a loss to Santos. If Santos loses to Jones, Blachowicz should be the next fighter on that docket. All right, moving on. Welterweight battle. Another welterweight fight on this card. Oof, this is a big one. This is another one that could main event most pay-per-views. Jorge Masvidal versus our boy Ben Askren. Wow, what a fight.
Damn. You know, you have two wrestlers, if anything. Ben Askren, him having his second, I'm pretty sure this is like his second fight in the UFC, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, second fight.
Yeah, because he went up against Robbie Lawler in his UFC debut, and what a performance that was between Ben Askren. Although the ending was a little bit controversial in that one. Check out our previous episode for that.
Yep.
So for sure, Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal hates the dude. Ben Askren, he seems to be very calm about it. He seems to be very looking forward to it. If anything, Jorge Masvidal, he's going to have to bring his A game on this one. I expect him a better performance than he had up against Darren Till. Yeah. If anything, with this fight, Ben Askren, him being the new guy in the UFC, even though he's had previous fights in other organizations. But if anything, Ben Askren, he will come out on top. And I'm going to go crazy on this one. I don't think it's going to go long distance. I think it's going to go first round.
Oh, wow.
So I think that they're going to take it to each other. And Ben Askren, him being the grappler that he is, he's going to take him down, just ragdoll him as much as he can. And then Ben Askren will pick up the victory, be a submission. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Askren winning this any other way besides decision or submission. So I'm going to agree with you. It's going to be submission. But for me, I think it's going to be the third round. I think both guys, although there's a lot of hatred, at least on one side, I don't think Ben Askren really hates Jorge Masvidal. I don't really think Ben Askren hates anybody. He's undefeated.
He's so calm and just
he's a weird guy. There's a reason they call him funky, right? I just believe that these guys will kind of measure each other out in the first round, a lot like I think with Rockhold and Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And I think eventually, both guys might have offense against each other, but I think eventually Ben Askren will wear Masvidal down. Even though they're both wrestlers, Ben Askren is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Not to say Jorge Masvidal isn't, but I think Askren's on just a little bit higher pedestal as far as the wrestling goes. So I think Askren's submission in the third round or decision just based on time running out. But I think Askren will win this fight. I think he's the better fighter. And then I think you have to give him a welterweight championship shot. Really, I think the winner of this fight gets a welterweight championship shot.
These two guys are hungry, if anything. Two hungry guys. Ben Askren, whether he wins, whether he wins or loses, I think that he, whatever fight that he's going to go up against is going to be entertaining.
All right. It's time for the main events, Eric. And these are two amazing main events, two amazing superstar, maybe the best two UFC fighters on the planet right now. You have Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm, and you have John Jones versus Thiago Santos. We're going to start with the women's bantamweight title fight between Nunes and Holm. This is almost a dream match in some ways for a lot of people because Holly Holm is one of the most famous UFC fighters on the planet. Amanda Nunes is arguably the best UFC fighter on the planet, obviously the best women's fighter on the planet. Wow, what a fight this is. Eric, I'll let you go first on this prediction and what you think will happen in this fight. Remember, this is 5 rounds, and it's for the championship.
Nunes and Holm. One hell of a match, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Didn't think it would actually happen, but it was a good time, though. Good timing. If anything, Holly Holm and Nunes being, if anything, undefeated for a while now, since 2016 or 2015, around there. But 2016, she won her first belt, and then the second one, she won it recently up against Chris Cyborg, bantamweight and flyweight champion, I believe. Yeah. So
Double champ.
yeah, so double champ. She's on top of the world right now, and now she's going to be able to, if anything, her taking on the previous famous people like Tate, Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg. It just speaks for itself. I mean, that's an impressive.
What a list of people to beat. She's just so good. It's unbelievable.
And I doubted her when she went up against Chris Cyborg back in December.
I think everybody did.
Yeah, we all did. We all did. And with Holm, when she went up against Ronda Rousey, that's another, like, two fighters that beat Ronda Rousey. That's
two fighters, because I think if you're comparing the Ronda Rousey defeats, I think Amanda Nunes, when she fought Ronda Rousey wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey when Ronda Rousey was in Amanda Nunes' position right now. And I think everybody thought Chris Cyborg was that nobody was ever going to beat her. And Nunes beats her, very early on in the fight. So it's literally, you have Nunes who shocked Cyborg, and you have Holm who shocked Rousey.
Yeah.
It's a pretty even fight as far as when you look at it that way. I think you have to give an edge to Amanda Nunes. But Eric, who do you actually think is going to win this fight? Because it is for the title, and it is actually going to happen.
Oh, man. I mean, I expect her to bring it to Holm, and I know that Holm should not take her lightly.
No, but Holm can take it too. Holm can take it.
Yeah. So I expect Nunes, and I think that this is going to happen. Nunes will knock her out first round.
Oh!
Under 40 seconds. Well, I think Holm first, she's going to go after her, and then after that, Nunes will catch her, and then she'll counter, do her best to try to counter. Holm will try to stay away from her as much as she can. After that, Nunes goes in for the attack and then completely knock her out, and then that's when she'll just pound her, to the ground, and then that's it. I don't expect it to go long distance. I really believe that Nunes is right now at the top of her game, and Nunes is one of those people that you need to watch out for. If anything, I don't see Holm, I don't see her beating her. This is Nunes' time. I think so. I know I'm a little bit crazy on this one, but
Eric, I'm going to go a little crazier on you. I disagree with you completely. I think this fight goes a long time. I think it goes to the 4th, 5th round, maybe all 25 minutes. And dare I say it, I think Holly Holm's actually going to win this fight. I think Holm is ready to go. Not that Nunes isn't, but I think Holm has a strong chin. She's a good counter striker as well. I think she'll be able to counter some of what Amanda Nunes does. And I actually think if a Nunes goes after her, I think that's a mistake. I think both these ladies, or at least Nunes, should take Holly Holm very seriously and not give themselves up to possibly get hit a couple times really hard. And I think that's actually going to happen. So I'm going to go Holm wins this fight in the 4th round, and it's going to be by knockout.
Damn. Going crazy on this one, huh? Okay, so
I think we both are.
Yeah,
I think we both. If you want to see something shocking, you want to see Amanda Nunes essentially knock out the entire division. I think Holm's going to actually win this fight and set up one of the best rematches in UFC history. I'm going to go with Holly Holm. I just can't go against my girl. She signed a 6-fight deal for a reason. That's not to lose the championship fight and not be able to fight again for the championship. She's going to win it, and some of those fights on her 6-fight deal are going to be defending this championship.
Right. Yeah, it's actually good that you brought up, Holm has an amazing chin. That's for sure. Yeah. And I do believe that Holm is one of those people that she will get ready. She will be ready. Just I really feel like in my mind that Nunes is just 110% more ready. And I don't know if whatever tools that Holm has inside the octagon, are they going to be enough to stop Nunes? Because I do believe that they're going to start, trying to do their best to try to catch each other, try to chase around each other. So we'll see what happens, because it's one of those fights that you do not want to miss.
We move to the main event: Jon Jones versus Thiago Santos for the light heavyweight championship. This is Jon Jones's second defense of the light heavyweight championship, third fight since returning from all those suspensions, and he's mauled his opponents. He beat down Alexander Gustafsson, someone that had really put it to him in the past. He destroyed Anthony Smith, didn't really even give him any offense in his first defense. And now he faces Thiago Santos, the sledgehammer, as they call him, 38-year-old Brazilian fighter, a man that used to be a Brazilian army paratrooper back in his younger days, a person that grew up in the favelas of Brazil, some of the worst areas in the world to grow up into. He's a Muay Thai fighter. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, specifically a Muay Thai black belt. We all know who Jon Jones is, so I don't need to give any of his accolades.
No introduction for him.
I just want to give some credibility to Thiago Santos and why he's in this fight. Like I mentioned earlier, Santos beat John Blachowicz in his last fight in essentially a number one contenders fight to get into this bout. And I'm going to scroll down really quickly. And since, really since a shocking loss to David Branch in the first round of a fight, a major upset in 2018, April 2018, he's gone on a four-fight winning streak and has really dominated his opponents. He beat Kevin Holland, who wasn't much of a competitor to begin with. He beat Eric Anderson in his light heavyweight debut. Fight of the night, referee stoppage in the third round. That was the main event, so it was going to go 5 rounds. The fight was stopped after the third round. He defeated Jimmy Manawa in a fight that was supposed to happen for a long time, very early in the second round, performance of the night. And then, of course, he beat Blachowicz, performance of the night, in the Czech Republic. So, you know what I'm saying? This is a worthy contender. I actually think it's a more worthy contender than Anthony Smith, to be honest. So this is a better fight than Jon Jones will fight than his last one. I'll come out and say it. I think Thiago Santos, has a chance in this fight. I think he can get on a roll with his combinations, and he possibly could get Jon Jones in trouble in this fight. Jon Jones, we know, God, his clench is some of the most tough things to get out of in the UFC. It's one of the worst things you could do in life is get stuck in some of these clenches with Jon Jones. Jon Jones puts that left hand up, that right hand up to bug his opponents. I just think Thiago Santos, being 35 years old, being near the end of his run in the UFC, I think he has a chance, and dare I say it, I think he might win this fight. But Eric, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go against Jon Jones. I think this goes the distance, and I think Jon Jones wins by decision.
If you put it that way, with as much as I like Thiago Santos, although I love his last name, though.
I like his last name, too.
Yeah, so if anything, with Thiago Santos, just a well-rounded fighter. Just there's a reason why they call him the sledgehammer, because you do not want to get caught with those punches, because they will completely put you to sleep if you have a weak chin, that is.
Jon Jones has that weak chin.
Jon Jones, on the other hand, does not have a weak chin. He is prepared. He is ready, physically and mentally ready. He looks 110%. The guy looks like a sculpture. Freaking Jon Jones. He's like the best, well-rounded fighter right now, if anything, in the world of MMA. With Jon Jones, I'm not counting him out either. He's a great fighter. This year, I feel like we have had a lot of surprises in the world of boxing and MMA.
Yeah.
If there is one guy who can probably shock us on Saturday by knocking out Jon Jones, it would have to be Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that John Jones, he better watch out for it because, if he does shock us by knocking him out, dare I say, for Thiago Santos, third round or fourth round, that will just have the entire MMA community talking. And will that taint John Jones's legacy in a way? I don't know, maybe. But then again, that would be a rematch for that to happen. But for Thiago Santos, I really feel like there might be a chance for him to actually knock him out if John Jones is not careful. So I do believe he does have a strong chin. He does have a strong jaw, but how much punishment he can take from those punches? How long can he endure from that? That's for sure.
I mean, just go look at some of the videos, the combinations Thiago Santos is throwing on opponents. It's some of the most scary stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This guy's a monster, and this is his first real chance to prove himself as one of the best UFC fighters on the planet. I'll tell you this, Eric. I'm saying John Jones is going to win, but there are going to be two moments. I'm doing 4. 2 moments in this fight where you're going to be like, holy shit, John Jones is about to lose. But John Jones has such a strong chin. I think he's going to do enough in the other rounds that he'll win this fight by decision. But this will be John Jones's closest fight since Alexander Gustafsson the first time. I think Thiago Santos is going to put it to him, and hell, they might even have a rematch again after this fight. That's how much credit I'm giving Thiago Santos. The betting odds don't give him that much. I think he's plus 300. I went on DraftKings the other day to put together a lineup, as I usually do for these major lineups. He's the worst as far as money line goes. He's the worst.
Wow.
So,
yeah, there's a lot of betting.
I'll tell you this. I'm so confident that Thiago Santos has a chance to win this fight. I'm willing to put a bet on him. I'm willing to put my money on the line to see if Thiago Santos can win this fight. I don't think he will, because it's just John Jones is just never done. He's never lost. So he's lost once when he was back in 2009.
Yeah.
But Thiago Santos will put it to him. Not as much as I think Holly Holm. I'm predicting Holly Holm wins. But Thiago Santos, this is going to be a fantastic fight. Oh, my goodness.
Bang for our money, that's for sure. It's going to be worth it. Santos, John Jones, one hell of a fight. And I can see why they put him in the main event. At first, we were actually getting excited when we actually were going to – there was announced at UFC, or John Jones was announcing that, I'm going to fight Stipe in July. We were actually getting excited, but then Dana White said, no, you're actually going to fight Thiago Santos. I was let down, but now, seeing his previous fights, Thiago Santos, there's a chance for this guy. I'm not doubting Thiago Santos. He will take it to him. But at the end of the day, who I really want to pick, who's going to come out on top, John Jones, 5th round, submission.
Nice.
Yeah, submission.
I like that prediction because that could very well happen if John Jones really does punish him. And John Jones can do everything.
Yeah.
So he can submit you, he can knock you out, he can go the distance, he can punish you for sure. I think Thiago Santos, he can't punish you like John Jones does, but those sledgehammer punches are enough to give him an absolute chance against anybody, and that includes John Jones. Eric, I'm super excited about this fight. I'm sure we'll do a review either Saturday night, probably Saturday night after the event. But I am excited about this. I think all 5 fights on the main event card are worth paying for. So the $60 you're gonna pay if you have ESPN Plus, or the $70, do it. This is if you're a wrestling fan and you follow the Ring Generals as a wrestling fan, this is the WrestleMania of UFC. This is the best they have to offer. So buy this fight. I'll do the UFC a favor here. Buy this freaking fight.
Buy it right now. Do whatever you got to do. Just buy it right now. Make sure,
Exactly. But for UFC show, I don't know which one this is. 4th, 5th. I don't know exactly which one it is. Might
I lost count too. I
lost count too. Yeah, I'm about to go back and write it down. But for Nick Nenad, this has been Eric Santos, and this has been the UFC show from the Ring General.